literature, including, of course, films, and history, including its bastard offspring, political science and economics, invite us to put ourselves imaginatively in situations we have not encountered and to ruminate. What did these characters and these historical figures do when faced with such and such a situation? And did they handle it at all well? How could they have done better? How could they have done worse? Is their situation in any way analogous to our own? It'll never be exactly the same as our own, but it may be analogous. We may, by way of comparison, improve our thinking about the situation we find ourselves in. You may wish to respond to me that colleges and universities, in America at least, don't do much of this anymore, and that's true. But it doesn't change the fact that it can be done. And it doesn't change the fact that reading things like the Jewish Bible, Plato, Aristotle, Herodotus, Thucydides, Cicero, Tacitus, the Christian New Testament, Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, Dante, Machiavelli, Shakespeare, Milton, Hobbes, Locke, Montesquieu, Rousseau, Jane Austen, Kant, Matthew Arnold, and the like, in the proper fashion, not as opportunities for a display of pedagogical vanity, not as objects to be debunked and turned inside out in light of the latest academic fashion, but as challenges to reigning opinion and as potential sources for a wisdom we may very well lack, is a good thing. And it is the liberal arts that provide that. Now look, in the academy there are dullards and drips who can't teach, and there are fools who are interested only in themselves and not in the subjects. You have to dodge that. But I suspect here at Shalem College, you don't have this particular problem because it seems relatively free from the latest academic foolishness. Look, I used to teach at the University of Tulsa, which had an engineering school. And these poor engineers had to do distribution requirements, so they ended up in my basic ancient Greek history course when they were freshmen. Some of them enjoyed it more than engineering. But there were people there who asked themselves the question, why do I have to do this? And on the first day of class, I would say to them the following. If you're an engineer and you're really good, and you graduate from this university and go on and get a job, after a few years, you may get promoted. And when you get promoted, you will be managing other people. And there is absolutely nothing that you have been taught in engineering school that's going to help you manage people. Because engineering is about things. And if it's good, you're really good in dealing with things. But you can be really good in dealing with things and be horrible in dealing with people. And it's precisely the humanities courses that you might turn back to for analogies to the situations you're in. And then I used to say in my best Oklahoma accent, I heard tell that engineers sometimes get married. It's a little hard to believe anybody would want to marry them, but I gather it happens. And then I would go on and say, look, are you never going to have trouble in your marriage? Are you never going to have anything to think about as a consequence of being married that you're not taught in an engineering school? And are you going to have children? And are your children going to run into trouble of one sort or another? And where do you turn then if you've never paused to think about these larger questions?